Thank you, all the witnesses. And just as a reminder to the members, we're just starting out here. This is our first hearing. And the issues that we're debating are important not only to the members, but to the witnesses as well. And that said, this hearing and in future hearings we have in the subcommittee aren't about levying accusations and insults at our witnesses, at each other. I think that's disrespectful to everyone part of the process and folks that are here as well listening in. And quite frankly, it's a waste of time and I think it's unproductive. I ask the members to please refrain from this kind of behavior and focus on the topic of the hearing, which today is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and its depletions. Thank you very much. I recognize myself now for 5 minutes. Mr. Epstein, does the decision to deplete the SPR to historically low levels mean the Biden administration has no real plan for American energy policy?
I think saying no real plan is too charitable. I think they have a very bad plan. So the basic plan is to rapidly eliminate fossil fuels as soon as possible and then pretend that they can be replaced by unreliable solar and wind. And unfortunately, I'm seeing this advocated here today, but what the energy crisis should have taught us is that this doesn't work. You can only try to replace fossil fuels once you have truly cost-effective alternatives, which means reliable alternatives, and which means replacing all uses of fossil fuels, including heavy-duty transportation, industrial heat, et cetera. So, I mean, it's worse than no policy. I wish they had no policy.
Presidents have only declared emergency releases of the SPR on 3 previous occasions: Operation Desert Storm, Hurricane Katrina, and following the military intervention in Libya. Did the Biden administration properly use, in your opinion, the SPR?
No, as I tried to indicate in my testimony, I mean, it's wildly improper, and I think particularly if you hear this rationalization of, oh, the conflict in Russia, whenever you have an escalating international conflict, that's when you need to keep your reserve as high as possible. So the idea of just depleting it to half of its level when we don't know what could happen going forward, you know, this is really, really precarious, and I think it's pretty obviously politically driven. And, you know, the obvious thing to do, you know, we're hearing talk about, well, this oil price increases hurt low-income families. This is absolutely true. But if this administration cared about that, why did every action they took lead to higher prices? Why did they cancel Keystone XL? Why did they threaten the industry? You know, I guarantee you we're going to end fossil fuel. Why have they been focused on having the SEC be sicked on fossil fuel companies? Why was there a leasing ban on federal lands? Like, every action was directed at making oil more expensive and thus harming low-income families along with everyone else.
Well, you just answered my next question, so thank you for that. Okay. Mr. Bushuev, one of the other witnesses said that renewables are by far the most cost-effective source of energy. Do you agree with that?
Well, sun doesn't always shine and wind doesn't always blow. As I said in my testimony, storage is a backbone of financial markets. You can get renewables, but renewables can't really do a whole lot without the storage. So it's not a question about renewables. Renewables are great, but we need batteries. So if we don't have storage, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do.
And, sir, how has China benefited from the decision to deplete the U.S. SPR?
Well, I don't know if China benefited, but let's kind of, the data in China is very difficult to get, so nobody really knows. But one thing that I know, that we used to have 1 billion barrels in SPR, in a reserve. Half of it was SPR, half of it was private. Now we're down to about 800 million. And 10 years ago, China had about 1/5 of what we had, about 200 million. And based on the third-party data, last year, China surpassed 1 billion. So we're kind of going down. China inventory is going up. Unfortunately, there is no clean data to put two lines on the same graph. But based on what I've seen, they're really mirror image of each other. So as our inventories are depleting, the China inventories are growing.
So China we used to have 5 times the reserves that China had.
Correct.
Now they have 3 times, most likely 3 times what we have.
Not necessarily. As I said, our inventory is about 800 million. 370 is SPR.
And then
the rest is
private.
private, but private to what extent you can rely on them because they're held by refineries. So if there is a crisis, refineries gonna use them. You're correct that China has 3 times more than the government stocked. That is accurate statement.
Okay. And Mr. Epstein, just a little off topic, but Western culture that you mentioned could exist in countries, let's say in Japan.
Well, yeah, and it has proliferated to the great benefit of all. And it's really about, it's not really about the location, it's about individualism and freedom and reason. So it's certain values that are universal human values. The idea that freedom and reason and individualism only apply to people of certain skin colors, that is the actual original racist idea versus, no, whatever your skin color is, these ideas are true and good for human flourishing.
Okay, thank you.